Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in for another video. So this video is not going to be about my 1000 gallon Morel aquarium behind me. This video will be an update to my 270 gallon tank that I have in my office. So this is a video that I wanted to make for a while. It's about a really cool type of aquarium setup. Very unique, pretty easy to do actually if you have enough time and know where to source the right pieces from. And yeah, so I wanted to cover this video to let you know what you can do with the tank if you're just bored of coral or if you're bored of moray eels, you want something different. So this tank may be something that you will enjoy. Alright guys, I'm standing in front of the 270 gallon aquarium. So this is the aquarium that used to house the Japanese dragon moray. It used to house 2 banana morays, and in my last video it housed some coral catfish. So an update on those is that the coral catfish are not really meant for captivity. They're really difficult to keep alive. Basically what happened was that they simply stopped eating at one point, and after that, one after another started to perish. And when I read online about other people's experiences with that, they basically confirmed it as well. So in the nature, they live in huge schools, thousands and thousands in one big, moving ball, so to speak. So yeah, unfortunately, you cannot replicate that at home, and yeah, they unfortunately perished. So after that, I decided to go a different direction. What you can see here now is something that is called a clownfish harem tank. And basically the idea of a clownfish harem tank is that you have a group of clownfish, over 20 or so, and in this case I have 24, instead of having a single pair. And the purpose of that is to dilute the aggression that you usually have from clownfish with each other. So yeah, I also have some other fish in here. I have a big sailfin tank. I have some domino damsels, some yellowtail damsels, some Bengal cardinals, and I also have 2 dwarf angels in here. I have a flame angel and a bicolor angel. This is the bicolor angel. Sorry, in the back. He will come out in a bit. So yeah, introducing fish in this tank is very difficult. I had plenty of losses simply because of aggression until I adopted a different strategy where I just have a kind of a small holding tank attached to the front glass, and then have the fish get used to each other's being in view. And after about a week or so, I would then release the fish and everything is fine. So that made a huge difference in a tank like this. The clownfish themselves are not aggressive, and you can see they go weave in and out of the anemones. So that's really cool to see. That's basically what a harem tank is all about. This bunch of clownfish all over the anemones, in the anemones. So yeah, after about having this for about 4 months or 5 months now, I wanted to tell you a little about the advantages and disadvantages and things you should probably keep in mind. So for the first thing is, I've seen other people have clownfish harem tanks like this with a bunch of anemones, and what they do is they feed each anemone individually. So they basically have a turkey baster and go and squirt some food into the mouth of every single anemone, and that is very labor intensive. So I don't do it that way. I'm going to demonstrate how I do it. So basically, besides the 2 regular pumps, so I have a pump here that returns water from the right side, and a pump on the left. And the one on the right is at a higher strength than the one on the left. That is because the one on the left is feeding water through a UV sterilizer. And in order to be effective against parasites, the flow through a UV sterilizer has to run really low. So this is why you see a bunch of anemones hanging out around the output of this return. Because on the right side it's a little bit too strong, so anemones don't like it that much. So yeah, they started to populate this on the left side. And then in addition to that, I have these wave makers. So I have this one, and they're in sync with one another. So every 5 seconds they generate a current, and that will create basically a circular current in the middle of the tank. So a lot of people have anemones. They say, hey, I have a problem with my anemones getting chopped up in the wave makers. And then when that happens, this whole tank gets poisoned basically and crashes the tank. So why isn't that happening here? And the reason why that is not happening here is to see, there are a bunch of anemones on the actual wave maker. And the reason is simply that I use this pulse mode. So basically 5 seconds of water current, and then it stops, and then it starts again. So basically, if you have an anemone getting flowing through the water and getting sucked onto this wave maker, the longest it can be sucked onto the wave maker is 5 seconds, which is not enough to make it through the gills and get chopped up. So for 5 seconds it gets sucked onto it, and then immediately it gets released, because then the wave maker stops. So when it gets released, it falls off, and then the wave maker starts to blow it away in the next 5 seconds. So that's why I never really have floating anemones getting chopped up in these wave makers. So these all ended up getting there because they attached themselves to the wall and started to walk towards it, and that's how they attach themselves. So much for anemones and wave makers. Pulse mode, it's called, is very vital. Don't use a steady stream of flow, because that's what will chop up the anemones. I don't need to put any covers on them anymore that always get clogged up, and lower the amount of the flow, and you have to always clean them. It's a real pain in the ass. I don't have to do that anymore. So yeah, let me demonstrate the feeding. So basically what I do is I put the 2 pumps into feeding mode. Okay, and then I basically still have the gyro wave makers working. And the reason why I let them work is because in nature, there's nothing that turns off the water completely, right? So the fish have to learn how to feed in the water current. The only reason why I'm returning these 2 return pumps is to lower the water volume so that the food doesn't get, not too much gets into the overflow box. But other than that, you will see that there's still a lot of current going on. And basically, I just have the food dispersed like this. All right, and then you see basically the food going everywhere, including the anemones. Works really well. I don't have to spot feed anything. Everyone gets to eat, all the clownfish, all the other fish, all the anemones. Food makes it to the bottom as well. So yeah, this is basically my method of keeping everyone fed. No target feeding, just broadcast feeding. And yeah, I do the same thing with pellets. And with pellets is a little bit different. You have to feed, first of all, you have to feed this tank probably every 2 to 3 hours to keep aggression low. And for that, I have this, automated feeder, and it feeds, dry food. And anemones don't really like dry food. They don't like pellets. So I also mix in this frozen food to keep them happy, and feed that about once a day. And the rest is basically just dry food. So yeah, just so much for feeding. No spot feeding, like I said. Anemones are really loving it this way. So yeah, and then now let's go talk about lighting. So as you can see, lighting in this tank was really challenging, because this tank is 3 feet tall and only 2 feet front to back. And if you have too strong light on the top, then everything moves down. And if you don't have enough light to keep the top heavy, then nothing is going to happen on the bottom. So I really had to dial this in, and I had to use a mix of lighting. So I have 1, 2, 3, and 4 AI Vega lights. So these are really old lights, but they still work. They do a great job. And then I also have 2 A360 E lights, as you can see. And I use these as spotlights, or basically night lights during the night. And during the day, this lamp here is actually hitting this Tridacna derasa clam. So I have 1 clam in here, doing really well despite all the anemones in here. So the only thing with this is I have to sometimes put a kind of like a protector around it. I have like a a circular glass piece that is usually used for candles to protect candles from tipping over. So I put this on top of this clam, so I have like a glass wall around it. And then anemones, they usually don't climb over and in, so they just move around. But every now and then an anemone gets too close, and then it starts to sting the clam, and then I basically put that cylinder glass shaped piece on top, and then everything is fine until the anemone moves away. But this hasn't happened in a while, so this is great. Clam is really happy in here, has grown a lot. And yeah, so yeah, for lighting, like I said, you know, I have it dialed in now with the coloration, with the ramping up and down. Right now it looks really cool. It has this, you know, cyberpunk look. I'm a real fan of the cyberpunk movies. I even have a cyberpunk LED display in my office from the movie 2049, the iconic scene at the end with the huge hologram of the girlfriend talking to the main actor. So yeah, this fits in really well, looks really cool, very futuristic looking. These anemones, I basically got them from another hobbyist. Started with like 5 or 6, all from the same mother colony. And then I just started to add some more here and there. They were $20 each. And at some point I started to buy, these are red bubble tip anemones. I started to buy some from other hobbyists because the main guy, he didn't have enough for me to cover this whole tank quickly, and I was getting a little bit impatient. But the other rose bubble tips that I got from another hobbyist, they all slowly perished and disappeared. So really weird. So you do have, you know, a dominant anemone in here, which is all of this one. So this is all from the same mother colony, and they all then started to split. I probably bought like 20 of them, and then the rest is all, you know, individual babies basically that you see all here. So yeah, that's really cool. I did try to put other animals in here. So this is one of the downsides with this tank, is that you have a lot of nem poison in this water, basically chemical warfare happening. And there are not many fish that can tolerate that. So and other invertebrates. So I tried to put a huge green carpet anemone in the bottom here. It looked amazing, but almost immediately it started to shrivel up, go in the back, and die. So that was really terrible. And diamond gobies that I tried to put in here, they also don't seem to do well with this water with a bunch of anemone poison in there. And I do run a carbon reactor in here, but it's just too much of it to filter out. So they keep producing this you know, chemical that gets released in the water, and if the fish can accept it, then they're fine. If not, then can't accept it. So these domino damsels actually that you see there, these are actually fish that also host anemones. I didn't know that. I thought only clownfish would do that. And what happens, since these are so big and strong, they can actually sometimes kill anemones when they're young and when they're really small and just split. And then this big fish goes in there and rubs his body in there. It can actually damage the anemone to a point where it actually dies. So I'm trying to catch these out of here. I had 3 in here at one point, and then I caught one and put him in the big 1,000 gallon tank with the moray eels. But I'm still trying to catch these other 2, and actually this big sailfin tank as well. And then I have mostly small fish in here. Yeah, so much for that. Like I said, if you try to do this at home, either get a really, really big carbon reactor and keep filtering the water for filtering this nem poison out of the water, or just do fish that are known to do well. So here I have a wrasse, a red parrot wrasse, I think it's called. A little hard to see with the blue light. So, but I decided to film at this time of the day because the tank looks just amazing, I think, in the blue light. So yeah, water flow, we already talked about it. In a big tank like this, I also have a wave maker at the bottom in a vertical position, and also one on the right side. And that one basically creates a flow behind the rock, so there's no gunk accumulating in behind the rock work and at the bottom. So that keeps everything clean. And yeah, not much else to talk about, I would say. It's a very, very low maintenance tank. Clownfish are really easy, very hardy. But like I said, it's hard for me to find other fish to put in here. So I am currently quarantining a coral beauty angel, see if he will do well. And as long as he doesn't nip on the clam. That's another thing I have to keep in mind. I have to keep feeding really regularly to keep all the fish fed so nobody starts to nip on the clam mantle. But yeah, I tried another clam, a Tridacna maxima. It was sitting on this rock because that's a clam that needs to sit on the rocks. But it was just so hard to keep the nymphs away from it. It was basically sitting right there on the shelf, and this light was creating a beam against it. But yeah, too much too much stinging happening, you know. I can only put something in here at the bottom. I think another, maybe the rasa clam. But this one gets really, really large, so we'll probably hold off on that. So yeah, I think it's not much else to cover. If you want a tank that is really easy, low maintenance, looks amazing, has a lot of life in it, because every anemone is a living, you know, life form. They do look amazing in this light. This one here, you can see bubbles up more than the other ones, and that the bubbling really comes down to the flow. So at nighttime, when the wave makers, I do turn them off at night for the fish to sleep a little bit more comfortably, but the ones on the bottom back are still on. So I do think in nature, the fish, they like to sleep in caves, you know, away from the currents, and in an aquarium it's a little bit hard for them. So I do turn these off at night for sleeping. And when they are turned off, then all these bubbles start to get bigger and bigger, and it looks really cool. So, but when you see all this current happening, you know, hitting the anemones, then they don't bubble up. So I could reduce the current even more to create this effect if I want to, and I maybe do that. But I think, no, the anemones waving back and forth, that looks really cool too. And when the water current is stronger, the arms of the anemones are thin and long, which creates more hiding space for the clownfish, especially when they get bigger. So for now, I will keep it like this. But I may play with the light settings in the future a little bit. So I'm really hesitant to play too much with it, because once you have it dialed in, once you know the anemones are happy, they're not constantly moving around, keep trying to find the right spot, then you know you have something done right. For example, I can see all the anemones in the back, but on this side there's almost nothing here. So I don't know why. The 4 lamps from AI Vega, they are all synchronized to the same controller, so the light settings are exactly the same. They are spaced exactly in the same way, and the wave makers, you know, are spaced exactly in the same way, the same spot. So I don't know why this whole area is empty. No idea. But yeah, that it is what it is. So the only difference is that the current from this is much weaker than from this side. So maybe this is why they like less current, so they go to this area of the tank. But other than that, everything is, you know, in sync. So, but yeah, I think this tank will stay like this for a very, very long time. I don't think I will, you know, rip all of these anemones out or try to sell them. If you ever want to buy a rose bubble tip anemone, do not go to a pet store, because my first one I paid like, I think $150 for a tiny one, probably the size of this one right there, super tiny. So go to another hobbyist who has you know, a colony that's constantly splitting, and they're moving around, they're stinging the other corals, and they're basically just want to get rid of them, and you can get them for like 20 bucks. So, and then if you want to, I would say with anemones, either do an anemone only tank, or only have, you know, like one maybe, and if it splits, try to get rid of the offspring, because they will move around, they will sting your other corals, they will cause havoc. They sometimes, even with some hobbies, some aquariums, they go to the overflow box and completely block off the whole overflow box, so you have like a flooding then happening at some point. So yeah, don't do that. You know, decide either only anemones or, you know, 1 or 2 at the most, and the rest is coral. And you have to really keep an eye on the anemones that they don't sting your expensive corals. So, but yeah, let me know what you think. I'm really happy with this tank. This is basically my lowest maintenance tank. All I do is water changes. For the invertebrates in the bottom, I have tiger conches that keep the bottom clean. I have 2 horseshoe crabs, and that's pretty much what I do to keep the bottom clean. There's not much else. I wish I could have gobies in here, like the diamond gobies that take the sand out into their mouth and spit it out. But unfortunately, they cannot deal with this water with all the anemone chemicals in there. So. But yeah, again, thank you for watching. Hope you like this tank. To me, it looks amazing. Matches my cyberpunk wall art. And it's really relaxing to sit here at night and watch the animals come out, the crabs come out, and you know, see how the fish are all doing in the community like this. All right, thank you so much, guys. Hope you like this video. Hope you like this aquarium. And see you in the next one. Bye.